This is the Dark Zero Horror Network. Psychological Autopsies.
Welcome to the Dark Zero Horror Network. Join us as we deep dive into all things horror from our favorite movies and TV shows. It'll be a scream.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the show engineered to take that stack of sources you send us, wade through all the research, and then pull out the absolute best nuggets of insight, bizarre trivia, and surprising context all tailor-made just for you. But before we jump into this deliciously dark topic, we really have to give a huge shout out and just thank you to all the amazing listeners out there supporting us on the Dark Zero Horror Network.
It seriously means the world to us.
It really does. It
Yeah.
lets us bring these fascinating, often overlooked horror topics to life. And if you're new to the show and you enjoy deep dives into these lesser-known corners of genre history, please do us a favor.
Yeah, hit that like and subscribe button.
Exactly. So you never miss a minute of the fun we have here on the Dark Zero Horror Network.
And today we are strapping on our badges and taking a very cynical trip back to the late 80s to look at a true piece of exploitation brilliance.
We are. We're talking Maniac Cop.
The 1988 original. It's a film that, while it's often forgotten, it launched a whole B-movie trilogy and remains just pure, unadulterated genre gold.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission here is to distill the core brilliance of this action slasher gem. And not just, the body count,
Right.
but the surprising amount of top-tier genre talent it somehow pulled together. The truly unsettling New York vibe it captured, and I think most importantly, the deeply fascinating and, politically charged origin story of its terrifying title character, Officer Matt Cordell.
To really set the stage, you have to remember this film is a total product of its time and its budget. It was released on May 13th, 1988.
Friday the 13th, of course.
Of course. It's a tight 85 minutes, rated R. But, the technical facts only tell half the story. The key to understanding this thing is looking at the people who are making it.
And the creative team is, it's phenomenal. You've got director William Lustig, who brought that visceral, almost documentary-like grime from films like Maniac and Vigilante.
What's so fascinating there is that you have Lustig's, gritty visual brutality married to the mind of writer and producer Larry Cohen.
Legendary Larry Cohen.
Yes. The man specialized in these high-concept, darkly comedic, and just deeply cynical scripts. He gave us classics like Q and The Stuff. So Lustig provided the atmosphere and the violence. Cohen gave it a political spine. They were quite the team, really specializing in making low-budget features feel enormous and crucially exploiting very relevant social fears.
That blend is exactly why it transcends a standard slasher. It's this American action slasher that mixes elements of B-action, B-horror, serial killer, and suspense mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And while, contemporary critics just dismiss it as trashy B-grade action horror hokum, genre fans got it. They immediately understood that the whole was far greater than the sum of its low-budget parts.
That low budget is so critical. The estimated budget was only about $1.1 million.
That's nothing.
It's nothing, which meant every single dollar had to count. They couldn't afford huge stars or these, elaborate set pieces, but they had to create the impression of a massive panic city.
And speaking of that setting, the source material praised the film for its vividly seedy New York backdrop. And it really sells the story of a city on the edge, a place where authority is just crumbling.
That ambiance is absolutely crucial to the film's success, but here's the classic B-movie cheat.
Okay.
Because of that tight budget, most of the film wasn't even shot in New York. They mostly filmed in Los Angeles.
You're kidding.
No, and if you're watching closely near the end, during that van chase, the infamous goof is right there. You can see mountains and a palm tree pop up in the background of a few shots that are definitely supposed to be Manhattan.
Mountains and palm trees in Manhattan. That's just the beautiful fraud of low-budget genre filmmaking right there. It forces creativity.
Exactly.
So they couldn't afford the location, so they had to save money elsewhere. And where they spent it, that leads us right to the cast.
That strategic spending on recognizable genre faces is precisely the transition point. Because they skimped on location fees, they were able to pull off this amazing roll call of genre talent. And that's what cemented the film's future cult status.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. This is a genuine convergence of B-movie legends. You've got Bruce Campbell, fresh off his Evil Dead success, here playing the framed and bewildered Officer Jack Forrest.
And it's a slightly toned-down role for him.
It is, yeah, but he brings that signature gravitas.
And then you have Tom Atkins as Lieutenant Frank McRae. I mean, Atkins is the definition of the cynical, world-weary cop. He's the guy who knows the streets are dirty and the system is broken. He's our grounded detective trying to solve the mystery.
For sure. And Lorraine Landon is essential as Officer Teresa Mallory, adding another layer of just competence and resilience to the whole investigation.
But if the film really works as a horror vehicle, it's 100% because of the Maniac Cop himself.
Robert Zedar.
Robert Zedar. He plays Officer Matt Cordell, and his presence is just unforgettable.
He's the true star.
Absolutely. He is inseparable from the role, much like, Robert Englund is to Freddy Krueger. His unique, imposing physique, that prominent jawline, that sheer height, it made him the perfect, relentless antagonist.
Right, he's not some nimble, knife-wielding slasher.
No, he's a massive brute force snapping necks and throwing victims with terrifying knees. He is the physical embodiment of authority, run monstrously amok.
And the cult status just gets amplified further by the sheer density of familiar faces in the supporting roles. I mean, you get Richard Roundtree, the original Shaft, as Commissioner Pike.
William Smith as Captain Ripley, Cherie North as Officer Sally Nolan.
It just keeps going.
It does, and you have those surprising, uncredited appearances that prove this was a true indie hustle. Director William Lustig himself is the motel manager. Boxing champion Jake LaMotta shows up as Detective Motter.
And even director Sam Raimi.
Yes, Sam Raimi pops up as a news reporter.
But Raimi wasn't just there for a quick photo op either. He served as an uncredited second-unit director. He helped film that incredibly chaotic St. Patrick's Day parade sequence.
They shot that guerrilla style.
They literally did,
Yeah.
stealing shots during the actual parade. That necessity, that willingness to capture raw, authentic, public chaos, it gives the film an urgency that no $1.1 million budget should have ever been able to achieve.
It's the perfect synergy, isn't it? You have Cohen writing a script about public paranoia, and the filmmakers are using real public paranoia and chaos to actually shoot it.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's dive into the core mythology that elevates this character from just a simple monster to, well, a tragic figure. The origin of Officer Matt Cordell.
You have to remember, Cordell wasn't always this zombified, throat-snapping menace.
And that context is so vital because it links the horror directly to systemic failure. Cordell started out as a highly respected, effective, and deeply ethical member of the NYPD.
The sources emphasize he was a stickler for obeying and upholding the law, and he put away countless dangerous criminals. He was good at his job, even if he did have a known tendency to use, unnecessary heavy-handed force.
He was a zealot for justice, and that zealotry is what ultimately destroyed him. The truly tragic turn came when his dedication led him right into the crosshairs of something much bigger than street crime.
A massive entrenched web of political and police corruption.
Mm-hmm.
He was closing in on the people who ran the city, specifically the highly corrupt mayor, Jerry Killiam, and a whole network of high-ranking police officials who were covering up these massive criminal enterprises. Cordell was an existential threat to their power structure.
And that system fought back with his brutal, efficient cynicism. Cordell was framed for crimes he absolutely didn't commit, charges like police brutality and murder, and then sentenced to maximum security prison at Sing Sing. It wasn't about justice.
No, it was about silencing him. And once he was inside, the betrayal just reached its ultimate level. He was immediately recognized by hundreds of the violent inmates he himself had incarcerated over the years.
Oh, man.
And they proceeded to brutally mutilate and kill him in the shower room. It was this poetic and horrifying vengeance delivered by the very criminals Cordell had risked his life to capture.
And this right here is where the supernatural element starts to creep in, turning the framed cop into this persistent, unstoppable horror villain. After he's dead, McCrae and Mallory discover the truth, but it's the chief medical examiner at Sing Sing who introduces the ambiguity.
He does. The examiner admitted that Cordell showed faint signs of life during the autopsy preparation, just a flicker that suggests his rage was too powerful to allow him to die.
So not quite dead.
Not quite. Convinced he was completely brain dead, the examiner secretly released Cordell to his confidant, Officer Sally Noland. But when the killer is first encountered, he's described as being deathly cold, even through his gloves, and observers note that he does not appear to breathe. He's not just a cop gone bad, he is the undead avatar of institutional revenge.
So once the Maniac Cop is back, the plot focuses pretty quickly on the escalating conflict. Lieutenant McCrae, our grounded Tom Atkins character, he refuses to believe that Officer Jack Forrest Campbell's character is the cop killer, even though Jack is framed after his own wife is murdered by Cordell.
Right, so McCrae and Officer Mallory then risk everything to clear Jack's name while being relentlessly hunted by the true killer.
And Cordell's revenge is so calculated, it's not random.
Not at all. He systematically targets those who framed him or stood in his way, making sure his vengeance served as this twisted form of clearing his own name. This includes high-ranking officials like Commissioner Pike and Captain Ripley.
And this movie does not pull any punches. I mean, the deaths are gritty, they're violent, and they perfectly fit that 80s exploitation mold. One of the most shocking moments is when Cordell ensures Detective Lieutenant Frank McCrae is permanently silenced.
Throws him out of a 6th-floor window onto a taxicab below.
Just a brutal scene.
And in the extended ending, Cordell even gets his ultimate justice against the main villain. Mayor Killiam, the man who orchestrated the whole framing, is assassinated by the very monster he created. Cordell's targets are a checklist of institutional corruption.
He seems truly unstoppable right up until the climax when they finally manage to stop his rampage. Temporarily, at least.
That's right. The film ends when Jack, in this desperate struggle, causes the van Cordell hijacked to crash into a suspended pipe, impaling the Maniac Cop. The van sinks into the river, but then you get that classic mandatory slasher moment.
The hand.
His hand emerges from the water as the vehicle is searched, confirming his supernatural resilience and guaranteeing the sequels. The betrayal has created something that cannot be killed by mere mortal means.
So despite delivering such visceral, high-concept genre action, the initial reception was, it was frankly hostile. The film was mostly panned upon release. Critics called it a disappointing thriller, amateurish, and an uninteresting Friday the 13th clone.
Even Bruce Campbell himself later admitted that, in hindsight, it was not a good movie.
Which is wild to hear now.
It is, because look at the legacy. Despite those poor reviews, it quickly earned recognition as a cult film and one of the era's finest forgotten gems. And it achieved this because it never compromised. It was committed to being a gritty 80s exploitation flick, but it backed that up with an above-average script from Larry Cohen that actually provided a political, contextual reason for its monster.
And the legend, of course, lived on. You got sequels, Maniac Cop 2 in 1990 and Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Silence in 1992. The concept itself is so potent that it just keeps inspiring people. The potential TV series reboot, which was picked up by HBO and Canal+, and it was executive produced by the hyper-stylized Nicholas Winding Refn, who loves that gritty 80s aesthetic, that shows that even today, high-level creators see the dramatic potential in Cordell's story.
And while that TV project was reported in 2023 as most likely not going forward, it's still fascinating that a modern cinematic auteur like Refn even wanted to tackle it. It proves that the core concept, the system creating the monster, has this enduring power that few standard slashers ever achieve.
So what does this all mean? Our deep dive shows that Maniac Cop succeeds because it delivered this visceral, low-budget entertainment while unexpectedly using the collective power of cult genre stars like Campbell and Atkins. It's a perfectly crafted, cynical artifact of late 80s video store culture.
And this raises an important question. Why does the film resonate beyond just its exploitation value? It plays directly on these persistent societal anxieties about political corruption and the abuse of authority. By executing these ideas about the mass hysteria caused when the person you're taught to trust, the police officer, becomes the systematic killer. While the film provides compelling satire wrapped in a slasher uniform.
Yeah.
It takes that inherent public trust and just turns it into pure, inescapable dread.
And that gets right back to the tragedy of Matt Cordell. He started as an ethical cop, only to be driven to this zombified vengeance after being systematically betrayed, framed, and murdered by the corrupt city power structure he swore to uphold. The true horror isn't just the monster in the uniform.
It's the institutional system that created him and then abandoned him to his death.
So the final provocative thought for you to consider is this. When Cordell comes back from the grave, badge and all, he is seeking vengeance, yes, but he's also seeking to clear his name. Does a monster born of such profound, total betrayal ever truly achieve justice, or is vengeance his only badge left to wear?
It's the ultimate cynical question about power, betrayal, and the difference between law and justice. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.